system has been attacking endlessly. Finally, that state saved them. So it's fine for the state to be allowed to spend trillions of dollars saving these guys, but not to spend millions of dollars providing people with a decent basic health, education system, free running water, etc., etc.
There seems to be a lot of debate throughout the American political and media that Obama is going to be a one-term president, that there's a lot of alternatives being presented, especially from the Republicans. What do you think is a possible or likely outcome for the next election?
Yeah, I think that it's not impossible that he might be a one-term president, but for him to be a one-term president, the Republicans would have to come up with another version of Obama. Do you see? The point I'm making is they can't do it with Sarah Palin. Because she is slightly delusional. And they would play into the hands of the Democrats if they allowed her to be elected, because Obama would come romp home with a huge majority if they had Sarah Palin, and there are enough intelligent Republicans, you know, whatever you might think of their politics, they're not dumb, like Karl Rove, Bush's former speechwriter and close ally, who's publicly said she will be elected, she will get the Republican nomination over my dead body. So they are desperately looking for someone. Obama's problem is that since he rules as a moderate Republican, that's what he is, if the Republicans manage to find a moderate Republican, then his goose could be cooked.
There you go. Thank you, Tariq. It appears to me that maybe Obama's also a victim.
Where are you?
Here.
Sorry.
It appears to me that maybe Obama's a victim of the same conventional wisdom that possibly many of us in this room have fallen victim to, and that is the conventional economic wisdom of the last 50, 60, 70 years, which was developed out of an imperialist system and which
Could you speak into the mic?
Which appeared to work, but it doesn't work anymore. And yet, if we don't change our views on economics, we're not going to change our views on political leaders.
I agree, and it's not just Obama. I mean, this is a disease that afflicts most of the world, including your country, that you can have two political parties. You can prefer one for cultural reasons, like you prefer a football club or a cricket team. And it's become psychological rather than political. I vote Labour because, my parents did, and we've always supported this particular team. And what they actually do doesn't matter at all, and it doesn't because what they do is not different from what was done by their predecessors. And, the country which pioneered this system, of course, is the United States, Tweedledum, Tweedledee politics, but it's reached an apogee also in Britain, where you had Tony Blair mimicking Thatcher, inviting her to 10 Downing Street, saying we're going to be even tougher than you. And during the Blair years in Britain, the disparities in wealth between rich and poor reached astonishing heights. There's no trickle-down effect, as they used to sort of talk about. And we now have a coalition government in Britain, which has replaced Blair and Brown, which is just carrying on. And Labour can't even be in effective opposition, because when it stands up and says, oh, this is not right, they said, but hang on, we've got the documents. This is what you guys were planning. We're just going to do it more efficiently. So the Tories say we need 20 million, I'm just giving you an example, 20 million pound cuts in this department. Labour says, no, 20 is too much, 18. There's no challenge to the way in which this system is being run at all, and this could bring about the downfall, really, of democracy and democratic politics if people in large numbers just turn their backs on it and say, carry on, it doesn't make any difference.
Thank you, Tariq. My question is regarding what is going on in the Middle East.
In?
in the Middle East
Yeah.
now. Obama's administration and also its Western allies carry on this bogey argument that if the current leadership goes in the Middle East, the alternative is the Islamic extremists. How realistic is this threat? Please, we want your comments.
I didn't quite get your question.
Say that again, just a little bit slower.
What they say is that if the current leaders disappear, the alternative is the Islamic extremists. How realistic is this argument? The extremist, Islamist.
If I got you right, let me repeat it and tell me if I've got you right, that if the present leaders disappear in the Middle East,
the alternative,
what will the Americans do?
The Americans and the Western allies are arguing that the reason why they are dilly-dallying with this situation is that they can't support the democratic wave because the alternative will be the extremist Islamist.
Okay, I get you. Well, look, what we have to see that one feature of these revolts and uprisings, whatever you want to call them, has been that they have by and large not been led by political parties. That's a very interesting feature of them. The difference between the Middle East revolts and the South American revolts, which started in the 90s, is that the South American revolts were led by huge social movements which had been campaigning for the previous 10 years against neoliberalism, against electricity privatization, against water privatization, and had lost lives. And these social movements created political movements and parties, which then went to the people and said, we are part of these movements, and if we come to power, we will do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They came to power and they did 3 or 4 things they promised. And that in this world is, quite amazing. Politicians promising to do good things and actually doing them. Whereas in the Arab world, we've had a sudden eruption, which so far has not given birth to a new political organizations. It might happen. So if there were elections in Egypt today, or in 6 months' time, or 3 months' time, I think new political parties would come up. I have no doubt about that. You would also have old parties coming up. And people talk about the Muslim Brotherhood. The Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, and in Tunisia, and in Jordan, is a party that exists. What are its politics? It is not an extremist. I don't like it, but I'm sort of just saying this to you dispassionately. It is not an extremist party. It is not a party that supports jihad or anything like that, or bin Laden, which is the fear which is normally put into people's hearts. It is very similar to the party ruling Turkey today and Indonesia today. These are the models for the Muslim Brotherhood. So I describe them as the Muslim equivalents of Christian democratic parties. Politically, economically conservative. And these are the groups who I think will collaborate with the United States. And the Muslim Brotherhood leaders more or less say it. The young so-called modernizers within the Muslim Brotherhood, basically yuppies, say to the Americans, you can work with the Turks and you can work with the Indonesians. What harm have we done you? Why can't you work with us? But the Americans didn't want to because they preferred to keep these dictatorships. The big, to answer your question fully, the big problem is going to come when something erupts in Saudi Arabia. Because this is a monarchy based on the most literal rendering of the Quran, Quranic literalists, if you like, Wahhabis, who are just awful. I mean, they're just so dogmatic that scripturally even it's impossible to have an argument with them. And they have a clear fixed view. And many years ago, the founder of this sect, Abdul Wahab, did a deal with the founder of this clan, which the British Empire first put into power. And the Americans then took over from the British and have maintained it in power. But it is a minority within its own country. So there are people in Saudi Arabia fed up with it and seeing what's going on. I mean, yesterday the Saudis banned all public demonstrations. A good sign. But let me just finish. Because the question is, will the United States allow this monarchy to collapse, or will they go to its rescue? My instinct is they will not allow it to collapse. It's a tried and tested method of keeping that peninsula under control, and they will send in mercenaries or troops, possibly segments of the Pakistan and Yemeni armies to go and make sure that the monarchy stays in power. That will be, if they let the Saudis fall, then quite honestly, American policy in the region is up for grabs.
Yes. Oh, over here. Yes.
Just a question in relation to the politics that's happened in Britain and also
Could you speak into the mic? Yeah.
Sorry. Just in relation to the politics that's been happening in Britain and Australia, how the independents are taking over. Do you think this is part of a revolution in relation to democracy throughout the world, and do you think it will carry on through to America? Do you think their actual politics, their way of voting in people will change, or do you think it will just stay as from, say, the 1800s when it's first started?
I hope so, but I don't know whether it will, because people come out and march on the streets and demand a change when they've just had enough. And they feel they can no longer carry on living in the same old way, that something has got to give, that conditions have got so bad. Interestingly enough, while all this was happening in Cairo, you had the first huge demonstration organized by the trade unions in Madison, Wisconsin, against the local Republican governor who wants to virtually disallow trade unionism. And for once, the trade unionists came out in America after a long, long absence from politics and defended themselves. I don't know, I think they're 20 or maybe about 30 or 40,000 people. And one of the chants was, if Cairo can, so can Madison. So, it's a very different situation in the United States, obviously. But unless there are movements from below, that's the only thing that puts pressure on the people. And just this morning, I got an email from a friend in Croatia, a philosopher, and he said, do you know what's going on in Croatia? Because you haven't written to me, and I didn't know. I've been here traveling for the last few days. He said huge demonstrations in Zagreb, burning the flags of all the political parties, right? The ruling party and the Social Democrats and the European Union, and demanding change. Because they're saying we're not prepared to be ruled by corrupt elites anymore. And he said the effect, this has happened because people have been watching what's going on in the Maghreb, in Tunisia, in Egypt, in other parts of the Arab world, and feel this is the only way we can get rid of our government. And he says it's just beginning, and it's growing in numbers each day. I've not seen this reported anywhere so far.
Yes.
In the long run, as Marie Antoinette discovered, is every country a democracy, including places like China and Saudi Arabia?
What was the first part?
Could you repeat?
In the long run, as, say, Marie Antoinette discovered, is every country a democracy, including eventually places like Saudi Arabia and China?
Will every country become a democracy in the long run?
Well, I mean, my fear is that the countries that are already democratic, we're seeing democracy being hollowed out. It's a very interesting phenomenon. As I said earlier, that this struggle to have a sort of radical democracy and constitutions that defend not simply political freedoms, but also have inscribed them social rights, such as the right to work, the right to free education, the right to health, the right to sheltered housing. That's one of the demands in the Middle East. This must go inside the Constitution. I don't see any such movements here, by the way, or in the Western world. But I think the desire of people to have the right to get rid of a government, even if the alternative is crap, is an